My son suddenly had a car accident, but the only person who could perform the surgery, my husband, was out shopping with his first love. When I called him trembling and pleading for help, he impatiently hung up and said, "What's the rush? Will she die if it's a bit later?" But waiting in hour really could cause death. Later my son's condition worsened and he was pronounced dead. I held his ashes in my arms, returned home alone, and prepared the divorce papers. Welcome to Love Story. At 3 in the morning, Enzo finally returned home. When he turned on the light and saw me sitting in the living room, he was startled. I was holding our son's ashes, turning my head slowly, my eyes red and swollen, my face pale, staring at him. "Elena, if you're sick, go get treated. Who are you trying to scare sitting here like a ghost in the middle of the night?" Enzo said as he took off his clothes and tossed them in front of me. "Hurry up and wash them, I'm out of clean clothes." I looked at him mechanically. At 11 that night my husband came home disheveled with faint lipstick marks on his collar. I didn't have to guess whose lipstick it was. Seeing that I didn't respond, Enzo grew even more impatient. "You're not still mad about John, are you?" I unconsciously hugged the urn in my arms tighter. "I already told you Bonnie just came back to the country, and I hadn't seen her in 10 years. What's wrong with spending some time with her? There are plenty of opportunities for surgery. There's no need to rush. I'm a doctor. Do you really think I wouldn't take care of our John?" Enzo spoke irritably, throwing his perfume-scented coat at me. He acted as if everything was my fault, as if I was being unreasonable. But how could this be unreasonable? I threw his coat aside, tears falling uncontrollably. It was so close. Just a little more time. After that call, John's condition rapidly deteriorated. Before he died, he held my hand and asked, "Mom, why didn't Dad come?" "Mom, don't cry. John doesn't hurt anymore. Don't be mad at Dad because of this. Dad didn't make it in time. He must have had something important to do. Dad's a doctor. He's very busy." He obediently said he wouldn't cry, but when he was delirious, he kept crying out for his dad. I could only hold his hand tightly and tell him that Dad was on his way, that he would be there soon. "Just hold on a little longer. Please, John, just hold on a little longer." But until John closed his eyes forever, I still hadn't heard from Enzo. At the same time, I saw Bonnie's new post on social media. Thank goodness Enzo was with me, or her dogs would have been in danger. The picture showed Enzo, Bonnie, and a white dog. In the picture, the two of them looked so intimate, as if they were a real couple. He missed John's surgery just to accompany Bonnie to take her dog to the vet. My son died also that Bonnie's dog could live. Enzo, seeing that I hadn't moved or improved, after a long time, clicked his tongue in annoyance. "Look at you with that half-dead look on your face. Can't you be more like Bonnie? Dress up a bit and be more obedient. Do you even know how embarrassing it is to be seen with you like this?" His cold tone was full of disdain. I let out a bitter laugh and looked up at him. "Bonnie, always Bonnie. We've been married for 5 years, but Enzo has never stopped thinking about Bonnie. Over the years, for the sake of our son, I kept telling myself to endure it, thinking that at least John could have a complete family. But now John died. I took out the prepared divorce papers. "Enzo, let's get divorced." "Are you crazy?" Enzo never imagined that one day I would ask him for a divorce. Maybe he was too used to my submissiveness, so when I mentioned divorce, the look in his eyes was full of shock. "Divorce? Do you want John to be without a father?" I gently caressed the urn in my arms. The moment I closed my eyes, I could see John's face as he was dying. He was so small, fragile, just skin and bones in my arms. When he was on the brink of death, his father was out shopping with another woman. What good is having a father? Anyway, John doesn't need a father anymore. With that, I turned to leave, holding the urn tightly. Enzo grabbed me by the arm. "Elena, what do you mean by that? Whether John needs a father or not isn't for you to decide. If you have the guts, let John tell me himself, but John will never get the chance to tell you that." I held the cold urn tightly, imagining the warmth of holding John in my arms as I once did so many times when Enzo and Bonnie were sweet talking over their long-distance calls. It was John who wiped away my tears, patted my back and said, "Mom, don't cry. You have John. Mom, don't be sad. I endured all of this, and yet I still lost my John. There's nothing more to say to you. I shook off Enzo's hand and told him word by word, tomorrow at noon. See you at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Fine, fine, you think you're all grown up now, huh? Enzo growled through gritted teeth, divorce. With that he grabbed his coat and stormed out the door. Before leaving he turned back to threaten me. After the divorce, I'll make sure John's custody is mine, Elena, you'll regret this. With those words the door slammed shut with a loud bang. The house fell into a dead silence, broken only by the ticking of the clock in the living room. I gently patted the urn in my arms, as if comforting a frightened child. From beginning to end, Enzo never once asked about our son, how he was doing today, whether his vitals were stable, if he was in pain, or even if he was sleeping. He didn't even care about the noise he made, not even when slamming the door so loudly. And he never once asked what I was holding so tightly in my arms. I stared at the closed door and wiped the tears from my face. Enzo, you missed seeing John for the last time. And now you'll miss seeing me for the last time too. The next day I arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau on time with my bag. By noon Enzo still hadn't shown up. I decisively called him. Enzo's voice sounded furious. Elena, are you out of your mind? Do you have to ruin someone's morning? I looked at the clouds in the sky, my tone calm. Come and get the divorce, Enzo. Don't make me lose all respect for you. In the end he showed up. Enzo and Bonnie arrived at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau holding the dog. When Enzo saw me he took Bonnie's arm and they spoke intimately, looking every bit like a newlywed couple. There was a faint smile on his lips as he talked to her. In 5 years of marriage, he had never smiled at me like that. When they reached me, Bonnie immediately took my hand. Elena, why are you so determined to divorce our Enzo? You're not still doubting our relationship, are you? Elena, don't worry. We've known each other for so many years. If we were going to be together, it would have happened long before now. You wouldn't even have had a chance. I sneezed and pulled my hand away. Then congratulations. Once we're divorced, the man I don't want will finally be yours. Bonnie's face froze. Enzo's expression turned completely dark. Signatures, stamps, and the divorce certificate was in my hand. As we walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, Enzo looked displeased. I advise you to think carefully. Women like you are a dime a dozen. But once you leave me, no one else will want you. I didn't get angry. Instead, I laughed and walked out of the bureau. The sky was gray when I stepped outside, as if it was about to rain. Bonnie was waiting outside with the dog. Enzo, as soon as Bonnie saw Enzo, she rushed over to grab his hand, interlacing their fingers. Enzo didn't pull away. Even when we were newlyweds, Enzo had never held my hand like that. He used to say it was too tacky. He wasn't used to it. But now I looked at their tightly clasped hands. I realized that love, or lack of love, had always been hidden in these small details. I hugged my bag tightly and started to walk away. Inside the bag was John's urn. I was planning to lay John to rest at the cemetery. John's sweetheart. Don't be afraid. Mommy will be with you soon. Just before I left, Enzo called out to me, don't say I didn't warn you, but there's no way I'm giving you John's custody. Bring John to me by tomorrow, or I'll have no choice but to send you a lawyer's letter. I turned to look at him, feeling nothing but bitter amusement. But John is already dead. He died on the day you were out shopping with Bonnie. Are you happy now? At least you saved yourself some legal fees. I turned to leave, not noticing that Bonnie secretly let go of the leash. The dog suddenly charged at me. I was knocked to the ground. The urn in my bag fell out and shattered into pieces. The dog eagerly dug into the bag, licking the scattered ashes. John, that's my John. I rushed forward like a madwoman, trying to drive the dog away. I scooped up John's ashes, crying so hard it felt like my heart was being torn apart. John, my John, stop licking, stop licking. Those are my son's ashes. I desperately tried to push the dog away, but the beast stubbornly kept burying its head in the urn. I was losing my mind. Bonnie's voice rang out clearly in my ears. Oh dear, Enzo, I didn't mean it. The dog must have been startled by something and suddenly lunged. Do you think it's unwell? Elena, I'm so sorry. It was just a box of formula after all. I'm sure Sister Elena won't mind, right? Enzo casually wrapped an arm around Bonnie's shoulders. It's fine, just some formula. I'll buy her another box if she wants. That's not formula. Those are our son's ashes. Enzo, make it stop. Hurry, don't let it lick anymore. I couldn't pry the large dog off and I felt a metallic taste rise in my throat. Enzo stood by coldly holding Bonnie, while Bonnie's dog licked our son's ashes. It's just some formula. What's the big deal about it? Licking a little, he said impatiently. Just like when John was waiting for surgery, and he was with Bonnie, impatiently letting our son slowly die. Enzo, you bastard. I grabbed the pen at my side and stabbed it into the dog's neck with all my strength. Dog, Enzo exclaimed, rushing over to pull me away. Elena, you're crazy. What are you doing? But I didn't stop. I stabbed him again and again. Bonnie hugged the dog tightly. What are you doing? I already apologized. What more do you want? I hadn't even lost my temper and yet she was already accusing me. I was shaking uncontrollably, my hands covered in blood. It's that beast. What was it doing? Bonnie dismissed me. I told you, dog. Didn't do it on purpose. Enzo quickly sided with her. Look at yourself, what do you even look like? Right now. Apologize to Bonnie and dog now. It was always like this. As long as Bonnie was around, he would always stand by her side. Enzo never stood by me. He only looked at me with disgust. I can't wait any longer. Right now, immediately get John here, or I'll call the police and have you arrested. What right do you have to even mention John? A wave of fury consumed me, chilling the blood in my veins. I lunged at Enzo, grabbing him and starting to fight. You bastard, you damned bastard. Give me back my son. Give me back my son. I hit him, punch after punch. I vented my rage with all my strength. Enzo shoved me away, pointing a finger at my face, cursing. Elena, look at yourself. Do you even look like a mother? Bring John to me, or don't blame me for using force. I spoke with a trembling voice. You want John? I pointed to the ashes that the dog had licked, my fingers shaking violently. He's right there. Go get him. Enzo frowned. What are you talking about? Elena, I know you're upset about the divorce, but you can't just spout nonsense, Bonnie said, sobbing, as she held onto that beast. Enzo pulled out his phone. You've lost your mind. Refusing to give up. Custody, huh? Just wait, I'm calling the police right now. Call the police? You killed John? What? Right, do you have to call the police? A metallic taste rose in my mouth and I swallowed it back, my teeth chattering. John is already dead. Enzo froze for a moment, then quickly shook his head. Impossible. John is at our hospital. If something had happened, they would have told me. They called you, but you didn't pick up. My heart pounded painfully in my chest. My poor son, even his ashes were desecrated by a beast after he died. Maybe the sight of me scared Enzo. He backed away several steps before regaining his composure. Impossible. Enzo frowned. You're lying to me. You must be hiding John, just to keep me from getting custody. You won't give him to me. Fine, I'll find him myself, I sneered as I watched him. Enzo dialed a number. Hello doctor, is my son still in the hospital? There was a pause on the other end of the line. Enzo, you don't know your son passed away yesterday. Enzo froze. Are you sure? There was a brief hesitation on the other end of the line, and the voice softened. We also heard about it. Please wait. The doctors responsible are currently on leave, and we're still investigating the details. Then hurry up and find out, I sneered, my chest heaving violently. They won't find anything. My son died in the hospital, and those incompetent doctors were afraid of retaliation. The day John was cremated, they all took leave. By now they've probably fled far away. Enzo hung up the phone. Bonnie, holding the dog, tugged at his sleeve, her beautiful face streaked with tears. Enzo, our dog isn't doing well. Please, you have to save him. Enzo paused, then quickly scooped up the dog. Don't cry, we'll find a doctor for dog right away. His gentle tone was reserved for Bonnie. Enzo took a few steps, then turned back to me. I'm warning you, if you spread any more lies about John, don't blame me for what I'll do. I let out a bitter laugh, saying, nothing more. Enzo, Enzo. What's the point of pretending to care about John now? John is already dead. I watched with my own eyes as he was sent into the crematorium. You're the one who killed him. You abandoned him for Bonnie. When I looked up, the gloomy sky had swallowed Enzo's figure. I collapsed to my knees, coughing up a mouthful of blood. The blood splattered onto John's ashes, mixing with them. At that moment I seemed to see little John, standing in front of me wearing a white suit. I held the remaining ashes in my hands, and started to laugh softly. He was waving at me. Mommy, I missed you. I smiled weakly, reaching out to touch that small figure. Mommy missed you too. John, sweetheart. Don't be afraid. Mommy will be with you soon. Mommy won't make you wait long. After the divorce, I never went back to that house. I burned all of John's belongings, and threw away everything of mine. I even cut up all the photos we had together. In short, I didn't want to leave any trace of our relationship. These past few days, my health has been getting worse, and I cough up blood every time. I know I'm about to reunite with John soon. Thankfully, I already got the divorce papers. Even in the afterlife, Enzo and I will be completely severed. The last thing I need to do is find a resting place for John. I chose a peaceful scenic cemetery for my son, thinking that when I die, I want to be buried here too. On the 7th day after John's death, I went to the cemetery to pay my respects. But I saw Enzo's car outside. Why is he here? Could it be that he realized he was the one who caused John's death, and came to apologize to him? I walked in, and Enzo and Bonnie were just coming out. Bonnie was clinging to Enzo's arm, sobbing. Enzo, do you think Dog will blame me for not protecting him? Enzo gently patted her head. No, we did everything we could. Dog won't blame you. Besides, didn't the feng shui master say that this is a blessed spot? Dog will definitely have a good afterlife here. Bonnie smiled at that, tugging at Enzo's sleeve. Her tone soft. Enzo, I'm so lucky to have you. I watched coldly, feeling nothing but disgust for this pair of scum. Enzo, a PhD in medicine, actually believed in this superstitious nonsense. But on second thought, it's not surprising. He'd do anything for Bonnie. Enzo noticed me and instinctively frowned. What are you doing here? That should have been my question to him. He frowned, his tone accusatory. He was just short of accusing me of stalking him. I didn't want to get tangled up with him any further. It's none of your business. You, sure enough, he was about to get angry. But Bonnie stopped him. Bonnie pretended to be kind, taking my arm and pointing to a messy area of the cemetery. Sister, look, this is the private grave Enzo had built for our dog. What do you think? Following her finger, I suddenly felt a chill run through my entire body. All the graves had been dug up. A construction worker stood in front of John's grave, and with a single shovel, a cloud of white dust rose into the air. Those were John's ashes. I froze in place, a cold rush of blood surging to my head. Bonnie's voice was sharp and nauseating. Oh, my sister Elena, Enzo and I searched for a long time before finding this spot. The feng shui master said this place has great energy. My dog will definitely be safe and happy here. Huh, Sister Elena, where are you going? I broke free from Bonnie, stumbling as I ran towards John's grave. What are you doing? I yanked the construction worker away, my voice sharp with fear. Who told you to do this? My John was still so small. He never did anything wrong. Why did even his ashes have to be scattered after he died? I knelt on the ground, gathering the remaining ashes. Gone. It's all gone. John, I'm sorry. Mommy didn't protect you. My anger overwhelmed me, and I started coughing again. The taste of blood filled my mouth, and I felt dizzy and lightheaded. The construction worker, startled by my sudden pull, shrank back and looked at Enzo in confusion. Enzo stepped forward. I told him to dig. What of it? I stared at Enzo in shock, my hands and feet going cold. Do you even know what you're doing? You treated John poorly when he was alive, and now you've scattered his ashes. I screamed at him in fury. Are you an animal? Enzo seemed momentarily startled by my outburst, but then he regained his composure. I warned you. If you spread any more lies about John's death, don't blame me for what I'll do. Lies? I stood up, my body swaying slightly. My vision blurred and I looked at Enzo, forcing A smile more painful than tears. Enzo, how many times do I have to tell you, for you to believe? John is dead. He's already dead. He died on the day you went shopping with Bonnie. His last words were about you. He wanted to see his daddy. He missed his daddy. You, smack. Before I could finish, a hard slap landed on my face. I fell to the ground. Enzo looked down at me, his jaw clenched tightly. Sister Elena, I never expected you to be this kind of person. Bonnie continued to fan the flames, her voice dripping with false concern. John was your own son, yet you say such things just to get back at Enzo. This is too much. I let out a bitter laugh, looking at the two of them standing before me. I wanted to speak, but my breathing grew increasingly labored, the air in my lungs becoming thinner and thinner. I knew it, I was dying. But how could I die now? John's grave was dug up, his ashes scattered. He hasn't found peace yet. I collapsed to the ground, my face pale, trembling as I reached out to Enzo. He could save me. He's a doctor. He must know what to do. Help me. Let me live just one more day, even half a day. Let me lay John to rest. All I ask is to let my son rest in peace. Enzo looked down at me with cold indifference, letting out a disdainful snort. Elena, don't think that pretending to be sick will make me go easy on you. You think I'd believe you? My hand trembled, frozen in midair. Exactly. Bonnie clung to Enzo's arm. Enzo, let's go. Don't pay her any attention. This woman is full of bad intentions. My hand finally fell to the ground. Enzo, irritated by my presence, even kicked me aside as he walked away. They left arm in arm. The last thing I saw was Enzo's back. He always turned his back on me, even after 5 years of marriage. In the midst of the chaos, I saw John skipping towards me, his hair neatly combed, dimples appearing as he smiled sweetly. Mommy, I can finally hug you. Tears filled my eyes as I held him tightly. I felt my body growing lighter, my heartbeat slowly fading. But it didn't matter. John, Mommy can finally hold you. I held John's hand, watching Enzo and Bonnie slowly walk away. In the end, I died here. No matter how much regret or bitterness I felt. John looked at me sadly, his voice soft and innocent. Mommy, why is Daddy so nice to that auntie? Daddy never smiled at me like that. Does Daddy not like John? I didn't know how to explain any of this to him, so I mumbled something that didn't make much sense. John, always so thoughtful, gently squeezed my hand. Mommy, don't be sad. John knows that both Daddy and Mommy love me. Daddy must love Mommy a lot too. John knows that. I held his tightly, and for some reason tears began to fall again. For reasons unknown, John and I remained in this world. But John's ashes were destroyed beyond recognition, and even as a spirit he often fainted. I wandered the world with a fainting John in my arms, unseen by anyone. But I could see everyone. I died in the cemetery, and when my parents came to visit, they wept bitterly. When they found out that Enzo had seen me before I died, they wanted to confront him. But as soon as they stepped inside, Enzo and Bonnie threw them out. Enzo and I are already divorced. I advise you to mind your own business. This is not a place for low-class people like you. Overnight, my father aged considerably, his hair turning gray. Pointing at Enzo, his hand shook with rage. You scoundrel, you bastard, my son just, and you're already with this woman. Do you have no shame? Bonnie's tone was as familiar as ever. Oh, uncle, you misunderstand. Enzo and I are just ordinary friends. We've known each other for 10 years. We can't just give up a decade of friendship because of your son. My father trembled with fury. You shameless wretch. He lunged at Bonnie, ready to fight her, but Enzo quickly stepped in to protect her. Dad, I rushed to catch my father, but my hand passed right through his body. I couldn't help anyone. I was just a wandering ghost. My father collapsed to the ground, his ankle instantly swelling. I knelt in front of him, tears falling uncontrollably. When I first married Enzo, my parents didn't approve. It was only because I insisted on marrying him that they reluctantly gave their blessing. All these years my relationship with Enzo was strained, but I never dared to tell them. But maybe they noticed how I was growing thinner and thinner, always telling me it's okay if you're unhappy, just come home. But I can't go home anymore. I trembled as I tried to reach for my father's hand. But I'm already dead. No one can see me. I reached out wanting to massage my father's ankle, but the sight of my ghostly, intangible hand seemed to mock me. Elena, you're just a useless wandering ghost. Enzo looked coldly at my parents. When is she going to stop? Does she think bringing you here to play the sympathy card will make me give his custody? I'm telling you, it's not happening. John is my son. There's no way I'm letting him grow up with a madwoman. My mother supported my father, her voice hoarse. But Elena can't fight for custody anymore. Enzo hesitated, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. What do you mean? He seemed to sense something, instinctively grabbing my father's collar. What do you mean by that? In all our years of marriage, this was the first time I saw Enzo with this expression. When it came to something related to me, it looked like he was afraid of losing me. That seriousness was almost enough to make me doubt. Maybe he really does care about me. But how could that be? My father pushed Enzo's hand away. Suddenly my father's figure seemed to hunch over, and this stubborn old man's eyes reddened as he looked at Enzo. She's dead. That's impossible. Enzo spoke without hesitation. Something that big, there's no way I wouldn't know. No way you wouldn't know. Of course, you wouldn't know. Because I died right in front of you. In that moment when you kicked me aside and walked right over me. Exactly. Bonnie seized the opportunity to stoke the fire. How could a healthy person just die like that? This is probably another one of her tricks to deceive Enzo. First, she spread rumors that Enzo's son died, and now this old man is here, spreading lies about his own daughter's death. No wonder they're related. They're cursing their own child. Enzo's face darkened even more. He was convinced this was just another one of my lies. But I really am dead. I watched him from afar. Why? Won't you believe it? Enzo was even more arrogant than I had imagined. He sent people everywhere to look for me, but they found nothing. He thought I was hiding from him, so in his frustration he tracked down my best friend, Joanna. Tell Elena no matter where she hides with the child, I will find her. If she comes back now, I'll be willing to forgive her. Otherwise I won't give her another chance. Still the same threatening tone. All these years of marriage, Enzo never once spoke to me with kindness. Even now that I'm dead. Joanna's eyes were swollen and red as she threw my death certificate in Enzo's face. Take a good look. Elena is dead. I've already helped her parents deregister her. As if shocked by Joanna's words, Enzo staggered back several steps before steadying himself. Impossible. I just saw her a few days ago. There's no way she could just die like that in a matter of days. His voice was full of agitation. It must be fake. Enzo tore up the certificate, turning his anger on Joanna. You're in on this with her, aren't you? You set up this whole scheme just to take John's custody away from me, didn't you? Joanna looked at him in disbelief. John, you dare talk about John? Your own son was gravely ill in the hospital, and instead of saving him, you went shopping with Bonnie. Even after John's death, you couldn't leave him in peace, do you know what you did? You let Bonnie's dog lick his ashes, and then you dug up his grave to build a tomb for Bonnie's dog. Joanna grew more emotional as she spoke, her eyes reddening even more. Do you know where Elena died? She died in front of John's ashes. Impossible, Enzo shouted. He seemed genuinely distressed, using all his connections to find me. As if by doing so, he could prove that Joanna was lying. But what good does that do? Enzo turned the entire city upside down, but he never found any trace of me. It was only then that he finally realized he would never find me again. Bonnie tried to comfort him. Maybe Sister Elena and John have already left the city. Elena couldn't bear to part with his child. Maybe she's already taken John and ran far away. Even though I'm dead, Bonnie is still trying to smear my name. She secretly investigated me. She contacted doctors in other cities and saw my cancer diagnosis. She also saw John's death certificate. She knows we're both dead. The dead can't speak, and so she gets to dictate what's true and what's not. Enzo didn't say anything, but he still didn't give up looking for me. I don't understand why he's still so stubborn. When I was alive, he didn't love me. I was just the wife he married to spite Bonnie. For 5 years, he never once smiled at me. His heart was always with Bonnie. Otherwise he wouldn't have abandoned John's surgery for her. He didn't love me, so he certainly didn't love my child. That's why from the day John was born, he never spent a single birthday with him. John cried to me more than once, asking if Daddy didn't love him anymore. I didn't know how to explain it, so I could only hold John and cry in silence. Over time, John stopped asking. John slowly became more obedient. But my heart bled. So why is he still looking for me? Enzo, who are you trying to fool by pretending to be a loving husband? That night the doctors who had fled to another city were brought back by him. On them Enzo found John's death certificate and my cancer diagnosis. It was all written there clear as day. I have less than 10 days to live. Enzo is a doctor. He knows exactly what that means. A thin sheet of paper fluttered to the ground as Enzo took a few shaky steps back, his eyes unfocused. How could this be? How is this possible? These past few days, he even wondered if I had taken John and fled the country. But what he never expected was that I was truly dead. John and I are both dead. From beginning to end, no one ever lied to him. Dead is dead. John died the day he went shopping with Bonnie. I died in the cemetery, and at the moment I begged him to save me. In his life, there were only 2 times when he watched someone die without helping. Once it was his son and the other time it was me. Impossible. Fake it has to be fake, number. Matter how much he denies it, it doesn't change the fact that I'm already dead. The overwhelming pain consumed him. How did they die? One was my son. The other was my wife. Why am I the last two? No, Enzo descended completely into madness. It was only then that he finally remembered I was his wife and John, he was his own son. But what does that matter now? We're both already dead. I stood by coldly watching Enzo. The doctors he had brought back were now trembling with fear, one of them stammering, Enzo, I truly didn't know you were searching for your son. I thought, Miss Bonnie had already told you that Miss John and your wife, they both. His words trailed off into a stutter. Enzo didn't look at him. His mind was completely blank. The doctor continued to babble. We tried calling you back then, but you didn't answer most of the time. We even tried calling from different numbers. Mr. John was crying so much, asking if you weren't coming. Your wife was also diagnosed with cancer. She held John sitting alone in the hospital. Enzo, we really thought you knew. Enzo stood there stunned and unmoving. I also called him countless times that day, but he hung up on me every time. Not long after that his only son closed his eyes forever. He crouched down covering his face as he started to cry. I watched him coldly, feeling strangely calm. I don't know how long it was before Enzo, broken and desolate, returned home. Since John was hospitalized, the front door had rarely been opened. But for once Enzo came back here. Over the years Enzo had seldom returned home, leaving only John and me to depend on each other. Now that I'm gone, everything in the house has gathered a thin layer of dust. Enzo walked through the house in a daze, noticing the family photo on the coffee table now covered in dust. In the photo John and I were smiling happily, and even Enzo was smiling for once. What a warm and loving family. Enzo gripped the photo tightly, his eyes reddening once again. He suddenly remembered the day I collapsed, begging him to save me. He had kicked me and stepped over my body. He crouched down, burying his face in his arms. What have I done? Yes, what have you done? Enzo, what have you really done all these years? Wasn't it just that you didn't love me? Wasn't it just that you missed John's surgery? Because of Bonnie, how did it end up causing such an irreparable tragedy? But even now that you know everything, what difference does it make? He can't hear my accusations and he can't see the disgust on my face. Enzo just kept calling my name over and over. I was wrong, Elena. I really know. I was wrong. Please come back, Elena. The room was so quiet that you could hear the clock ticking. Just like all those days in the past, when I sat here waiting for him to come home. But this time, it's him waiting for me. He'll never find me. Belated affection is worth less than grass. As time passed, Enzo's regret grew into madness. He repeated my name and John's name, shutting himself off from the world. Everyone thought he had lost his mind. Bonnie took the opportunity to come and check on him, but she left without taking her phone. Enzo received a call on her phone. The voice on the other end plunged Enzo into an icy abyss. It was John's attending physician. "Listen, Bonnie, isn't 10,000 too little? I helped you kill Enzo's son and wife. If he finds out, I'm done for." "Huh? Why aren't you saying anything? Trying to play dead? Huh? Don't play dumb with me. If I hadn't told you that Enzo's son was critically ill and helped you put his phone on airplane mode, how could he have missed all those calls from the hospital and that grave digging if I hadn't told you where his wife buried their son? How would you have had the chance to make Enzo dig up his own son's grave and drive his wife to death? I'm telling you, 10,000 is too little. Once you become Mrs. Enzo, you'd better pay up." So it was all Bonnie's doing. She planned everything, killing me and John to marry Enzo. She regretted leaving Enzo to go abroad, and now she was back to take everything from me. Enzo clenched the phone, his eyes gradually turning red. So this was the truth behind everything, but it was too late for him to do anything about it. Enzo gripped the knife in his hand. "Enzo, have you seen my phone?" Bonnie suddenly returned, seeing Enzo, and froze. "Enzo, what's wrong?" Before she could finish the last word, the phone in Enzo's hand dropped to the floor. The screen displayed the recent calls. Seeing the number on the screen, Bonnie froze. "You answered the call, Enzo." "Enzo, let me explain." But before she could finish, Enzo had already lunged at her. The kitchen knife plunged deep into her heart. In Bonnie's shocked eyes, Enzo muttered, "It's all your fault. It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, John, my son and my wife wouldn't be dead." Blood spilled from Bonnie's mouth. But Enzo didn't stop. He kept stabbing her again and again into her heart. Realizing she wouldn't survive this, Bonnie dropped her pretense and fought back with all her might. "Bullshit." She grabbed Enzo by the throat. "You're just a fickle bastard, and I took my chance. That's what you deserve. If you were really a man of integrity, how could I have found an opening? Even on the brink of death, a person's strength can be immense." Enzo's face turned a deep shade of blue as Bonnie choked him, his eyes rolling back. I stood by watching them, thinking how it was just a case of one dog biting another. Such a commotion quickly drew the attention of the police. By the time they arrived, Bonnie had already bled out and died on the spot. Enzo had lost his mind. Covered in blood, he huddled in a corner, muttering incessantly, "I'm sorry, John. I'm sorry. Honey, I was wrong. I was so wrong. I'm a bastard. I'm a bastard." The police handcuffed him. He followed them, numbly getting into the car. It was no surprise that he would be sentenced to death for premeditated murder. To ensure the case was handled fairly, the police conducted thorough investigations. They learned about me and John, and through their inquiries, they also found the attending physician who had fed information to Bonnie. He couldn't escape the law's punishment either. On the day of Enzo's execution, John, who had been in a deep sleep, finally woke up. He held my hand and said, "Mommy, I dreamed that Daddy came to find us." I smiled and held his hand, saying, "Nothing." The sun was rising and I felt my soul slowly fading away. The wicked had been punished and my heart was finally at peace. As for Enzo, I would never see him again. In the sunlight, as our souls began to dissipate, I looked at little John and finally gathered the courage to ask him, "John, in the next life would you come and stay by Mommy's side again?" John nodded. He said, "Mommy, no matter when, John will always stay by your side." "But Mommy, I don't want father." I smiled in relief. Finally his choice changed. We dissipated together. When I opened my eyes again, I was back before getting married. This time I would like for myself, end.